Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast. I'm Ryan. With me is
Drago.
welcome to our final podcast for Power Rangers Beast Morphers, where we'll be covering the final episodes. Uh, so, uh, in episode 14, Golden Opportunity, Nate's parents come to visit. Their work sees them traveling a lot, so he doesn't get to see them often. So he's very excited. And for their next relocation, they actually want to take him with them, which would mean he'd have to leave Grid Battle Force.
Yeah, I really like this episode. They had set this up in episode 3 of season 1. And so having this comeback here was really great, especially since Chaku's episode happened about I think episode 11 it was that they had mentioned that again. Like, so we got to see like his parents are basically non the people who work for, like, what do you call it, NGO workers, social workers, or some
I
would
have
be
no idea
the
what their job is.
no, from what they actually, what do you call it, from how they were speaking about them and what actually was the tone they were using. It really does feel like they're part of, like, of an NGO. So yeah, and they are working. They are like social workers basically. So yeah, so it's understandable why they, like, why they are like, where the Nate's like, helpful attitude sometimes comes from. And also you get to understand. Also, I really like the, like, how like they actually, like, they actually didn't know that he was a ranger. There was no dramatic reveal. It was just Nate realizing that sometimes it's for the greater, like, that some of what Chaku was saying is right. That
Sometimes
sometimes
you
you have to
just
make sacrifices, like,
and
sacrifices to,
sometimes, yeah, sometimes
yes,
you also just find where you should be.
yeah, like, you have to make sacrifices and you have to find where you should be. And Nate already has a family at Good Battle Force now, so he feels less alone. So you see, like, how far his character has come, and that's something I really liked about this episode. Uh, and it was also well shot, well directed, and how we see that Rangers go from, like, being supportive to being like, if you don't, like, if you leave, we're screwed. Like, we see why, and then sorry, and that was really well done.
Um, and we get some cute dialogue about Steel having parents because he's trying to get the full human experience. So, since he has Nate's DNA, he sees Nate's parents as his own.
I still say that Nate is his father.
um, but yeah, in the end, Nate decides to stay at Grid Battle Force because uh, he's the only one that knows how to make the tech work.
Uh, Not necessarily they could have just gotten Megan, but it's just that he has more responsibility and he can do more good here than going with his parents. So
And also, Ben and Betty are incompetent.
absolutely. Uh, One thing I really liked is that when son, what do you call it? Steel and Nate are, like, searching for, they're scanning a DNA. Roxy just jumps on them, no warning, nothing whatsoever.
Right. And, like, at first I assumed that she wanted to steal the DNA they were scanning, but then she sees the scanner and takes it as though it were an afterthought.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, what was your plan?
uh, Thinning the herd.
So, yeah, Roxy gets an upgraded form of using plant DNA she absorbed into her biology.
It's the same concept as robot. What do you call it? The robot human hybrid. That still is, so no issue.
So moving on to episode 15, going ape. Ravi does everything possible to cause a misunderstanding and not explain any of it to Roxy, and I immediately skipped the rest of the episode.
And okay, here's the thing. I think this episode had a good intention of existing, to not snoop through other people's phones
Like,
without asking them. But but the frame, how they framed the conflict was dumb.
right, like 100%, Roxy was not showing trust in Ravi by searching his phone. I understand that. 200%, Ravi did nothing to make the situation better.
Like, I get where he's coming from, because I've had my former partners do that, but but again, you explain yourself. You
Like,
have reasons to do. I
like
know. Okay, there's one thing, if the other party is irrational. If that is the case, then okay, that would have been a better framing device. But when the party being accused is being irrational and doing everything to sabotage the relationship, why?
Ravi had 3 opportunities to tell Roxy he lost her present, but an old lady found it before she went through his phone. And you know what?
Ah,
While Roxy did invade his privacy by going through his phone, I can't 100% blame her for it because he's a Power Ranger and his phone going off could have been an emergency.
uh, okay. I
I'm not saying
sort of
that
don't agree.
justifies it, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
there's
it is
a situation where that wouldn't have been a bad thing.
yeah, but I mean, there's it's still communicators. That is the primary mode of
Yeah,
talking to.
it's not a great argument, but, like, still.
Yeah, I understand, but yeah, that is yeah. I I mean, this episode, everything else after that, like, man, if the initial framing device was better, this would have been one of the best episodes of the series, like as far as individual episodes go. But since, because the everything else was well directed, the action was well done, the acting was the acting was pretty much on point, and and the action was really fun with how they handled the fight between Ravi and Roxy in this entire episode. But yeah, if the initial premise being ultra dumb actually ruined this episode for me.
See, what would have made this premise work is if Ravi acted more suspicious without directly, like, causing the issue. Like he does here, where
I mean,
he blatantly refuses to tell Roxy anything that would, explain the situation. But, like, what if he canceled their date to go and get the present? What if instead of an old
yeah,
lady, it was another girl their age who found it? And so when Roxy follows him, like, she sees this messed up situation.
yeah, and also it could also you could do this same exact thing, but instead of having Ravi be responsible, have Ben and Betty be responsible for the misunderstanding by their hijinks. They were right there to be used.
And I don't know what they did this episode, but I assume they were incompetent.
They weren't. That's the problem.
Oh.
That's one place where you could have made them incompetent. They didn't, and that just frustrates me.
So tell me, how does this episode end?
Okay, so what happens is, Ravi's powers, because since he is angry and his gorilla powers that malfunction, uh basically, so he constantly becomes a rage machine, basically. So in the end, ultimately, the old lady comes and gives the painting to Roxy, in the and Roxy basically apologizes, and Ravi calms down, and then he also apologizes, and that's it.
Good.
But yeah, it's like this episode is just frustrating. It's not bad. It's just the initial framing device was so really. The initial framing device itself was so bad that it ruins the rest of the good episode.
Not every episode about Ravi is a bad one, but it's episodes where they try to show off his flaws that they exaggerate them too much and make him a child.
Yeah, pretty much. And like I think okay, like in most of the episodes where they show Ravi, it's not. This is not as bad as the one where they were doing the Olympics, where
Right.
Ravi's character completely changes.
That one
Uh
is the worst. That's what I mean by he was a child.
yeah. So this one, they weren't assassinating his character. They had the power reason to do that, but still, it was pretty bad. Like with the way how they treated him.
Uh, Next, we get the Silva Switch, where due to technology, Nate and Steel swap bodies for the episode. Um, Nate gets a valuable life lesson about how he didn't appreciate what it meant to be human, and Steel gets a song and dance.
Oh, I love this episode just for the music.
I did not like that song and dance. Like, there's cheesy, and then there's constipation.
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, when I was watching this episode, what happened was like, okay, it was I liked the premise and I liked like what they were doing and I liked the fact that it was weird Freaky Friday stuff where it was very weird seeing Steele's voice come out of Nate's body,
Yeah,
but this entire episode's plot was already established with how many times Steele has asked Nate for the mouth.
right. So it's like, of
Yeah,
course,
and
the first thing he's gonna do is eat something.
yeah. So I mean, it's like what I thought was a joke was really well done to set up an episode, and that is ingenious. Like this is just a really creative way of doing that, which I found really good. I'm not saying that like they have shown a lot of places where like they have been incompetent, but this is one of the most cases
Like,
of this is like extreme competency.
I will say that, like, this episode did seem like it was fun to make.
Yeah, like all the cast are like having a blast. Like I hate it. I don't like the song at all, but it just came out of nowhere that I had to burst out laughing.
Like, for me though, like, I didn't even realize the song was happening because at the time I was talking to you on Discord about Ravi's behavior from the last episode.
Oh my.
And then I realized, like, wait, there's been music going on for like a minute now, and I looked over and I saw what was happening, and I was just like, what?
Yeah, but overall it was really good episode. Like you saw like how what are the challenges of like uh Nate being on Steele's body basically made him like a liability, but Steele was having fun in Nate's body. That was kind of like I thought that it would be show like both of them having difficulties, but it was just one of them. So that was all right.
Oh, I don't remember what episode it was, but there's also Blaze giving himself an upgrade by using Evox's personal machine.
Yeah, he basically stole Morphex from Evox and gave him the amp. He powered himself up. So basically, in this last few episodes, they became and like Roxy and Blaze basically became enter and escape. Like as far as like how much threatening they felt, and even like how they felt in the first season. Because in second season they haven't been too great because of how they have been treated but as disposable minions basically. But yeah, this one after giving the power up, I really liked the fight scene they used, and then I really liked how threatening that he felt. they did a really good job in this episode with what do you call it, Blaze.
Um, and I don't think anything else plot relevant happens. Blaze steals a bunch of Morphex.
Yeah, I think this is next episode is where like
Is where
stuff
like
happens.
the real stuff starts kicking in. Yeah. The next
Yeah,
episode. Oh, go on.
yeah. No, basically after Blaze absorbed the Morphex, basically that was the point where like okay, we are starting the finale, like the finale arc, pretty much.
So the next episode, Fossil Frenzy. Zoe's brother, I forget his name, climbed a dangerous mountain solo and hurt himself, uh, but he found a fossil for what might have been an undiscovered dinosaur species. So Zoe takes the fossil to Grid Battle Force to get it analyzed, and then dumps acid on it.
Okay, okay.
I know
I
I'm being rude, but that is what happens.
okay, no, no. I think I have a worse thing to say about this and this section
Oh,
of the episode than anyone else because I am starting to be a chemist. So first of all, you don't put an acid like that in a jar right there. There's always a plastic. Okay, well, let's call it a plastic tub where you keep it so that it doesn't. So in case of leakage or even so that it doesn't. So it's safe and environment to use. And they had that tub right there in the lab.
second off, don't have the label facing away so that you can't see it. Keep that shit facing outward.
Yeah, and I don't blame Zoe here. It's Nate's fault.
I blame Zoe on one aspect. Nate clearly said orange bottle, and she grabbed a bottle with an orange liquid.
Yeah,
I
that's
blame
that's
Zoe on that one aspect, but the rest is Nate's fault.
yeah. This is Nate's fault because he wasn't following standard lab procedures.
Like, the fact that that mix up could happen is his fault.
Yeah, and like that is the reason why even in like in good school labs, either you keep everything that's potentially harmful and dangerous away from the away from the this away from the general area, or you keep it in a safe in a proper setup environment. And they didn't do that. And also, an acid doesn't react that fast.
Also, Zoe worked in laundry.
Yeah.
Like, she was looking for some kind of cleaner, right?
No, no. Okay. Here's the thing. The difference is, the cleaner for the dinosaur bone is a different cleaner than what you use for laundry. So,
But like,
completely different things.
but like, do you just grab the first bottle you see and assume that it's the right one? Do you not double check the label to make sure you are using the right product?
You do, like most people do, but in general, especially since I'm usually when I work in the lab, I just check the label is right there in front of me. So I grab it and I use it because how fast you have to act in a when doing chemical reactions. Otherwise, like there's always a margin of error when you
Like,
do that. So if she has worked in a lab prior to this, I don't blame her
excuse
because
me.
again, like I mean, like, I guess the episode wants to frame it as Zoe's fault, but in reality, Nate didn't follow standard
It's
lab
like
procedures.
it's like
Like
one
the
third
safety
Zoe's
guidelines are
fault and 2/3 Nate's fault.
yeah, pretty much.
Like,
Uh,
I work as a janitor, and I always double check like what box I'm pulling my cleaner out of to make sure I'm grabbing the right cleaner.
yeah, that's true because I mean, usually the people who work at cleaning departments double check like which. So
Because
yeah,
like
Zoe does have some fault in there, But seriously, that not following standard lab procedures and having stuff properly set up pissed me off
It's like
more than what we did.
in like because like we have two different toilet bowl cleaners, and we have a disinfectant foam that we use on the seats. Now the foam is non-reactive with one of the cleaners, but with the other cleaner, it creates uh, was it hydrogen chloride or something,
Okay,
or not?
probably
Oh god,
probably of either most likely a basic compounder, I guess.
god, I can't remember what it's called, but it creates something that's toxic.
Uh, yeah, but so that's the thing.
Chloroform.
If no chloroform is, yeah, I guess some do.
It might be mild chloroform or something. I don't remember. Basically, like, don't mix the chemicals.
Yeah, like, and always put acid in a plastic tub, and so that nothing like this bullshit happens.
For a
Uh,
second, like, I thought the acid was melting through the metal table as well, and I was like, whoa, 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 what? But then I saw that, like, no, it was just spilling on top of it.
but again, most acids, like I think almost all acids don't flow that fast,
Um,
especially if they're that concentrated.
so, the fossil gets dissolved. So Zoe decides to go up the dangerous mountain that she scolded her brother for going up herself to get a replacement for him. Now, props to Zoe for not using Grid Battle Force technology for her personal gain, but also, what the fuck, you have a helicopter.
Yeah, and that is the, I think that was the thing. Like she wasn't relying on other people to help her, because she was like, I made this mess, I should clean it up, instead of asking for help from her friends. You can't change the world alone. That's the attitude that I got from this episode. Like the moral wasn't in your face, so it is really hard to pinpoint, but it does, like I do understand like what they were going for, and and the message came out really well. Uh, and Roxy got a final form.
Yeah, Roxy ends up taking a fossil sample herself to upgrade herself even further. Now, one thing about these fossils, though, is that they're reading the DNA to determine if it's a new species, right?
Yeah,
But isn't DNA only readable up to like 1,000,000 years?
not necessarily. If the thing is intact, like suppose if it has not decayed, and the thing has still been, like some of the stuff, they do get, what do you call it, you can read them if you have like proper
Proper
equipment.
fossils?
And yeah, if the fossil has survived, like it got preserved or something, or like your equipment is good enough. And since it's the Power Rangers universe where technology has it goes from like where Dino Thunder happened, I guess this is fine.
Yeah, like you basically have magic technology at this point.
Yeah.
Uh,
uh other than that, I really like this episode.
yeah, it's a good episode.
And it really and they really did. The Roxy basically got so power hungry that she destroyed the machine that could help her come back.
Yeah, I was about to get to that. Like, her new upgrade destroys their replicator. So, if the avatars die, they die.
Yeah, and I think she didn't go out as strongly as she did in season 1, but this was good enough, because now this is the second time where we saw Rangers fighting someone who grew instead of a Giga drone, which we don't usually see. Like the last time was Ryjax. Yeah, yeah. Last time was Ryjax,
Right.
and it was this was pretty solid episode. Like nothing to write home about, but they did do everything other than the nitpicks I have against the first like wrong scientific long lab safety procedures thing. Other than that, I think the episode was overall great, and I think they did do Zoe's character justice. Like I think she has been the least focused but the most consistent character in the show.
Probably, yeah. And she seems to have learned her lesson about not trying to carry everything by herself.
Yeah, and that's something. And I did. Yeah, I think a lot of people like Zoe because of that. Uh, Wait,
Uh,
what's the next episode?
um, the next
Oh,
episode is Crunch Time. Um, oh, it's the one where Blaze starts telling Devin how to lead the team.
okay. This one I really like this episode because I didn't know that was the robot.
Oh, I did. It was pretty obvious early on.
Okay, no. I mean, like for the first, like what do you call it? For the first, like what do you call it? 5 minutes, like it show that Blaze doing Blaze stuff, and then you see the other Blaze, like he has turned good, whatever.
Right.
So I thought that okay, that was the case. So when Blaze like basically starts, okay, so Blaze is being a jerk. I guess there's some moral on the story here, but then I went okay when they were fighting against the Robotrons
Mm-hmm.
and like the basically when like the guy hit his hand, the Robotron hits his hand too, so that the sparks and shit come out. Basically, I had missed it because what
Oh,
do you call the stream I was watching started loading
I missed that
at
too.
that point. Yeah, so that was a dead giveaway that he was the Robo Blaze. So I didn't get that, and I was like, okay, this guy is acting strange. Like as like it was me piecing together the stuff in the episode, and by the end, how the thing concludes, it works like extremely well.
Like, to me, it just seemed like it was pretty obvious. Like, yeah, no, this isn't the real Blaze. Like, he's openly being far too aggressive to the team.
Yeah, I mean that I realized later on when like I think when I think it was just right before they went to capture Evox. At that point, I did like I okay oh this plan is working. Oh no, that is Roboblaze. Like when they're fighting in the Megazord. Like so that's when I pieced it together. But otherwise, this was a this was a really strong episode for him and showed him being a competent villain, which I really liked.
Right, because, like, it's believable that Blaze would be an asshole. The giveaway for me that it was the fake Blaze was that, like, he is actively causing discourse in the team. It's like, this feels intentional. And it's working. Good on him.
Yeah. So and this was a really it was pretty solid episode. Like how they set the finale up. This was like and then you see and then that's I think this is the point where Evox also becomes threatening. Last 3 episodes, woo.
At
But
least it
uh
happens.
yeah, I mean like he was never the star of this season as a villain. I like Blaze, Rox, and Skrulls a lot more. But because they had personality, character, and like they actually sometimes felt threatening instead of like what do you call it, Evox. Especially in season 1,
I'd have to
season 2 not so much.
I'd have to say Scrozzle is my favorite unique villain in this show.
Yeah, yeah, I also agree. I think Skrulls was my favorite so far because he has personality, charm, and he also is really like his plans work. Like He has always does stuff behind the back instead of being actively participate. Instead of actively participating in the battle. So that's something I really liked about him. But Blaze shined well in this episode.
And because of Blaze's plan, uh, the Rangers launch a risky attack where they lure Evox into a loading bay for Grid Battle Force so they can teleport him directly into a containment cage.
Yeah, and that's where the next episode starts.
Yeah, so this episode ends, I believe, ends on the cliffhanger where they find out that, like, this is the fake Blaze because the real Blaze calls them from Japan.
uh, and the fact that when his face popped on, he said "Konnichiwa," and that I burst out laughing because that was a good line delivery, but it's something about it just was
Yeah.
hilarious.
And so now comes the question of, but wait, if Evox's plan was to get captured, then what is he doing in here? Well, it turns out that their pathetic little cage they caught him in is nothing but a toy to him, as he just lets himself out once he's ready.
Uh, he basically uh, he basically takes advantage of the fact that they are gonna try to kill him then and there instead of stalling instead of keeping him there. So he basically, the moment the shields go down, he escapes.
Into the computer.
Yeah,
And so, naturally, they respond by destroying the computer. But he's already escaped into the Grid Battle Force network and is traveling through the database. So they go around to all the computers and start destroying all of them.
yeah, and he escapes into the main room where the Rangers' weapons, where Range of Bolt is.
Uh, where he grabs a particular item from the Ranger History Collection.
It was the RPM Reds Morpher.
You called this, right? Like, I just think I remember you saying something about this.
I mean, half the fan base called it, but I thought that this was. I thought that I just said it as a joke because I didn't think they would actually do it.
So, the truth about about Evox is that he is actually the Vengix virus from Power Rangers RPM. Uh, this
Like he's an incomplete version that Nate accidentally released.
Nate was experimenting with Ranger Morphers to see if he could power them with Morph-X. And he was experimenting with combining animal DNA to make the Rangers stronger. So he ended up combining a fragment of Vengix with snake DNA, and that's how Evox was born.
And then Evox basically absorbs all the data from all the Vengix virus data from the Morpher, and you see the voice actor change his voice back into Vengix.
Right.
And I was like,
it's like, okay. RPM was the last Power Ranger series I actually watched. So this was pretty good for me. This was like the conclusion I didn't know I was gonna get.
Like 10 years they had like the ending of RPM, which ended on a cliffhanger basically. 10 years.
They actually went somewhere with it.
Yeah. So, and also we find out that the guy. Okay, so Randall so that the guy who was voicing Evox was going under a pseudonym, which is basically an anagram of his actual name.
Wait, so it was the same guy all along?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. They were planning it the whole time.
Yeah, and I'm like, holy shit.
Oh, Hasbro playing the long game.
I would give credit to the guy, the writer Chip, because he probably did this.
Right. I see. This is what I like about Beast Morphers. It acknowledges that past Power Rangers series exist, and it takes advantage of that.
Yeah, so like all the anything that has been happened, so you don't need to spend time creating your own shit when you can just use shit from the previous season, and they already have explanation built in.
Like, this is a better anniversary series than Super Mega Force.
Or Ninja Steel.
That was an anniversary series?
25th.
Uh, excuse me.
Yeah, so I mean, it is not as good as Shattered Grid, which is just like a giant love letter to Power Rangers, but
But
it
few
is
things
coming
are.
pretty close. Yeah.
So, Nate is beating himself up over having created Evox. And when people try to console him, he pushes them away because they couldn't possibly understand how he's feeling. And then Zoe gets an idea. What if we bring in someone who can understand how he's feeling? Dr. K. You know, the girl who created the Venjix virus.
And the actress is so good. She actually is in character 100% of the time.
Oh yeah,
Like she's just a
she doesn't skip a beat.
yeah. She's just a more mature version of Dr. K, like who has gone through
She,
character development in RPM.
she's
And
just a I was gonna say she's just a taller Dr. K. She's got like 2 feet now.
yeah, but I really like the fact that she could basically just beat yourself up over this, or you could just find a solution.
Like I did.
Yeah,
I just hope it
I
doesn't
mean,
take you as long as it took me.
yeah. And so using so it's like, okay, yeah, basically this kind of revelation should have come out earlier on if you had to go through a standard route, but having someone else who's already gone through that and forcing the character to learn from them was a really smart move.
It, this happened before, and they use it. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, Beast Morphers might not be the best season ever, like, or even a great one. It's a good season.
It,
Overall,
it is a solid season.
it's a
Like, um,
it's a solid good season. But
I,
they but this is the reason why, because they use stuff from the past to tell its current story,
I,
and they do it well.
I would say season 1 is more consistent in quality, but season 2, the good parts are really good.
Yeah, like, yeah, overall season 1 is way more consistent, but season 2, after, like, the when it gets good, it is really good. That's and this is and then they did set up this really well.
So Dr. K sticks around to help Nate develop an anti-Evox weapon. When Nate has to go into the field to fight, Ben and Betty offer Dr. K their assistance, to which she gives them a very important mission, to take sucrose crystals and add them to water that's been heating up to 100 degrees Celsius, and then to add this special herb from her planet.
This is the best use of Ben and Betty.
Oh man, it, I think it's some of the finest work for Ben and Betty, because at the end of the episode they bring her tea and then they find out that it was just tea all along, and they're like, "Do you know how hard how hard we worked on this?" And all I can imagine is, "You fucking made tea. How? What did you have trouble with?"
uh,
But they get the highest compliment out of the entire series when Dr. K says, "You're welcome in my lab anytime." And then they stand there dumbfounded because they don't know how much of a compliment that is.
yeah. Uh, and I do like the fact that Nate actually, like, Nate's character, Nate became, like, I think Nate became sort of the main character of this entire series because of this. He solidified himself as that because he has gotten the most focus episodes, and he has gone through the most change.
I was getting worried they were going to go the J route. Or not the J route, the Jin route.
uh yeah,
Where Beat Buster had to sacrifice himself to defeat not Messiah, Enter? Whoever the main villain was at the end of Go Busters.
Enter.
Yeah.
So yeah, this so the way they handle, like, basically the way they handle, like, beating, I think the final defeat of Blaze required a little bit more oomph. Like, the finisher needed a bit more power behind it, but otherwise it was a solid defeat. Like, I was satisfied with how he went out. It was better than season one's defeat where he just died in a robot.
Right. Like, it could have been better, but I wasn't disappointed by it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh. So and also I really like the fact that they use a reason why, like, why Dr. K has to leave, because Venjix could have just escaped in our world as well. So
right.
we need to check.
Yeah,
We don't want this shit happening again.
Vengeance could literally be anywhere at this point. Scan the entire universe.
Uh, yeah. So, and that's where the finale starts.
Yep. Final episode. Evox is on the loose. He's immune to ranger weapons. And so they developed a special anti-Evox arrow. And the entire city is going on lockdown just in case Evox blows it up. Not lockdown,
Oh wait.
evacuation.
So a virus. Okay. So instead of a lockdown, it's basically a virus forcing everybody to evacuate. Wow, this is new. Well.
Man. Anyways.
Okay, so I really like the fact that they use the reason from RPM, like, basically in RPM where ranger weapons stopped working. Remember, because Vengeance basically deleted the weapons from the battlefield. Here he's doing the same thing.
Right.
Uh, which I liked. I think they used the continuity really well. They kept the power set consistent. So that was good. So to beat him, they use one of the most ingenious plans. Just grab the weapons from past ranges they already have.
Right. It's like, hey, you made yourself immune to our weapons, but what about all this? We got like 30 years of history here. We'll come at you with all of it.
Yeah, and that was one of the most. That was really really cool. Like, oh my! Like, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Alright. What weapons did people pull out here? I'm trying to
Um.
pull it up.
Okay. Super Ninja steals the Ninja Fire Cannon thing. SPD SWAT gun.
Yeah, I recognize that one. Oh,
Um.
Gen and Gemma's rocket daggers.
Gem and Gemma's that rocket daggers. Yeah. Uh. Lightspeed Rescue Blaster.
Oh, is that what that one is?
Yeah, and I think the other one is either Dino Charge or Mighty Morphin. or either Dino Thunder or Mighty Morphin, one of those. One of the blasters they used.
Uh,
Uh, I have to check.
so they fire the anti-Evox arrow, and of course, it doesn't work. Not because it didn't work, mind you, but because I'm pretty sure he just like backhands it away from him.
Yeah. So Steel just goes, takes the arrow to just go stab Ewoks, basically.
Right. Evox goes straight for the morphing grid. Um, the one that Devin used to call in Jason a few episodes ago.
Yeah, and he uses basically the global morphics network, which Mayor Daniels was setting up in the first
That.
half of second season to power himself up even more.
And so Steel, as a robot, is the only one that can get close enough to bring the arrow to him. Uh,
Okay, it's not Mighty Morphin, it's or Dino Thunder. It's Dino Charge. Yeah.
okay. Uh, Good thing Evox was, absorbing energy with his back turned.
Yeah, and basically since he's not Steel is not as powerful or has protection like Devon did like last time, he should have gone with that meteor. Oh wait, that turned into the Dino Thunder power coin. No, Dino Thunder power coin. Sorry, Mighty Morphin power coin. Uh, if he had gone with, so he went there and it happened. Steel basically perished.
Yeah,
After that, I
Evox.
knew where this was kind of gonna go,
I
but
didn't.
at that moment, the moment felt really strong.
So yeah, Evox, in his final act as the main villain, destroys Steel, who gets absorbed into the morphing grid. Um,
And some of it get absorbed into Evox itself. I think that's what the implication is.
so we get the final showdown with Evox in a giant Megazord battle.
Okay, I have thoughts over there. Before that, they just go to the grid battle force,
Oh,
and
right.
I even if I don't know the characters in the place, I thought that the final like force them deciding to stay back and do their job or like to see the things through was a really powerful moment you know for Beast Morphers. Like there are people behind them like who have been responsible for all their smaller tasks like mass producing swords,
Maintaining
repairing
the
morphers,
Zords.
maintaining the swords, everything. So those kind of stuff I did really like. But I just wish one thing is they had shown Megan in one of those scenes.
Oh, yeah, I was surprised she didn't show up.
I think the actress was not available, but
Oh,
I wish she had shown so you would see. And then I really like the fact that when I really like the when like Zoe's mom like she talks to uh Commander Shaw and then Zoe reveals her identity is like she can't escape with her because she has to stay as a to fulfill her duty as a Power Ranger, and so that gives that also makes her like her mom, Zoe's mom, stay to do her duty as a journalist,
my favorite
which I
part from
really
that was how Commander Shaw gives the nod to Zoe, like, yeah, go ahead and tell her. Because that shows Commander Shaw's character growth.
yeah, and and like her do, and that was really good moment. And ultimately, but one thing I think that was not well portrayed in this episode is that the Zord was supposed to be way like the Evox's Zord was way too inconsistent with how big it was.
Yeah.
But I do really like how, like, the final thing that can defeat Vengex. Sorry, it's Vengex now. That Vengex is basically human DNA, which has been a problem since RPM. Uh, because cybernetics kind of failed him in that scenario where with Tanaya 7 and Dylan. Then what do you call it? Then even here, like, he couldn't possess a body with human DNA, like when
Right.
Steel had some.
And
Mayor
like
Daniels
Bear
basically made him
Daniels
a,
fucked him up.
yeah, pretty badly.
Like he became so reliant on Morphex just to operate day to day.
Yeah, and that so that was the weakness they used to finally defeat him, and which was a really good conclusion. And their DNA basically turned Steel back into human.
Yeah, the morphing gray just kind of shoots the human DNA back out.
Yeah, and the way he came back also reminded me of how Kendricks came back at the end of Lost Galaxy
Oh
with the
yeah,
tornado and everything.
after she beat cancer.
Yeah, leukemia, not cancer. Sorry, it's leukemia.
Oh, sorry.
Uh, so yeah, so it was so the explanation is built in, so I didn't really mind. Other people were kind of sad that he became a human instead of continuing as a robot.
Also, he comes back as a human with the most baller hoodie on. Where do I
The
get
gift
one
from the
of
Morphin
those?
Grid. Just ask the Morphin Grid. It shall provide. Yeah, but it ended really strong with an epilogue.
1 year later, and I'm ashamed to say I didn't figure it out right away.
Oh.
It did not occur to me.
Uh, so Ben and Betty were in RPM's dimension, like chasing Scrozzle.
Oh, is that where Scrozzle went?
Yeah, he was in the sewers of Corinth. That's the reason why uh, this guy, Colonel Truman, came in the first place.
Um, not Jack. God, what was RPM Red's name?
Scott.
Scott. Yeah, Scott's dad.
Yeah, so he showed up.
Yeah, I
Just kidnapped.
recognized him right away.
Uh, so and we see that Devon basically got promoted to be the commander of Grid Battle Force.
Not that I'm not happy, but I don't understand.
Yeah, same thought, same here. Like I think a lot of people were like okay with it. Personally, I feel that dude is the least qualified to be the commander. Robbie should have been the commander.
And what happened to Commander Shaw?
She became a general basically. She replaced Burke.
Well, also, in only 1 year, they were able to completely take Morphex off of the line and replace it with renewable energy. You know, something that an evil monster villain from another dimension won't try to steal all of and rule the world with.
Yeah. So they realized that they were playing with fire when they were deciding to use a more goddamn morphing grid to
Which,
power their everyday lives.
which was the very first thing Mayor Daniels said to Commander Shaw.
Yeah.
Like, let's be
It's
real
like,
here. He tried warning them.
yeah. Okay, so you guys are gonna play with fire, and you have Power Ranger. Okay, all right, I'll fulfill
All
that
right.
political obligation.
All right. I guess we can give it a try.
Uh,
So, about how that all went down.
uh,
Was it
Uh,
worth it?
no. So the thing that it caused was release a virus from another dimension who basically wiped out the entire world. Uh, wiped out the other an entire world in another dimension basically. Destroyed countless amount of public property and cost a lot. So was it worth it? Let's try something that's doable for now. Let's not jump the gun.
So, Steele now has a job uh, as an actor. Uh, what do you call it?
An action star
Action star. Thank you. He has a job as an action star, and Blaze is his stunt double.
makes sense.
Huh. So he gets called away to an emergency meeting at Grid Battle Force, and he shows up in Ranger suit to a surprise birthday party. And I'm ashamed to say that I didn't figure that out beforehand.
I didn't either. But I do like the fact that they still keep their powers and everything. They just don't give them up because the threat is gone, like a couple of Power Ranger seasons do.
This means that still has the beetle DNA in him.
Mm, he kept that,
It wasn't all human DNA that the morphing grid spit back out.
or he just did the entire process again.
Or that.
Yeah, either works.
And then the series ends on a callback to Steele's song about being human.
And why?
And why is right. We just got this like a few episodes ago.
If this was from season one, I understand.
Right. If
This is not something you needed to call back to. You could have just ended it right there. But yeah, this entire season was fun. I liked most of the characters here. There was some missed potential with Human, Blaze, and Roxy, and the entire beginning of season two, like the first half of season two, not first half, first six to eight episodes of season two was mostly wasted,
yeah,
in my opinion.
everything up until the Evox episode about him desperately needing more effects was a letdown.
I think I really like the one where they got the Lion Zord, because you see growth in Megan's character as a realistic human being and not.
Yeah, I guess.
That one was okay. I mean, yeah. If she was a recurring character, this would have felt more powerful and would have been better. But she was not, so this is okay. It was not particularly great, but this entire season, after that point, after the mid-season finale, has been consistently solid until the Ravi episode.
Right. Like, it was a rough start at first, but it really got better, and I'm super glad it did. Except for Ravi.
Like he has gone through this significant change, but when like two of your focus episodes after your arc is over relies on them completely changing your character, that's where I'm like, dude, you should not have done anything with Ravi at that point because he was already fully developed. And given those episodes to Zoe instead.
And did we really need a second uh, environmental episode that was worse than the first one?
Yeah, this. Oh my god, I hate episode 2 so much.
That might be the worst episode of Beast Morphers.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of any episode that was as bad in season 1, but no.
No.
Yes, I will say season 1 was more consistent in quality, but season 2 was more hype. like
Right.
as far as
The high points were a lot higher.
yeah, and the way they everything flowed into the okay, they used the thing from season one where like from after the mid season finale, everything started flowing into each other with the chip, the animal with the beast powers chip thing that's Crossland made. From there, it was a through line with Fury mode and everything, which was really good in first season. But then they using that to basically set up a crossover early on instead of having it happen out of nowhere was really strong. There is a missed opportunity that the characters from Beast Morphers, Dino Charge, and Dino Charge didn't interact with Jason as much, or they didn't have enough interaction with each other in general. Like they need a little bit more than what they gave us to have it be perfect. But otherwise, it was really solid crossover. I think since Ninja Storm, I think Dino Thunder and SPD had one. That was the last time we had this good of a crossover, uh, in the TV show. So it was well done. I did really like what they did with the story arc and them using Fast Ranger stuff too, and to further that. And Benjix officially became only bad guy who, since the original Mighty Morphin seasons, to be
To
a
span.
recurring villain.
Right.
Yeah, basically, he was villain for 2 seasons, like two different Power Rangers teams, which we haven't gotten at all. Like, there's not been one villain has been a villain for two Power Rangers teams, and it is great. I really enjoyed that aspect of the show as well. But Nate definitely occupied the main character slot in this show entirely because we see his growth from season one to season two, like, and at the end of season two, he's a different character. He's more confident, and we see how he changes from and how he has grown so far. And his relationship with Steel is really great. And Steel is one of the most funniest Rangers that we have had because his comedy is really good.
Yeah. It can be a little
And I,
cringy at times, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not as cringy as well because you understand because it's explainable basically. Like he's a newly born robot with human DNA.
And he's looking for what it means to be human.
Yeah.
I'd
So
say I'm a little disappointed that the Beast bots weren't relevant.
yeah, I think they what my problem with the entire Beast Morphers handling of Beast Bot is that Go Busters used it too much. Beast Morphers used it too little. It should have been quite at the right spot in the middle where it would have been perfect.
Uh, but if we're getting into something used too little, uh, the weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean it was always present in the background of the show where basically Zoe and Robbie were the ones that constantly fanned each other and drank sugar syrups, basically. While Devon's weakness was never explored at all,
Like,
aside from that one episode.
it's like there was that one episode in Go Busters where Enter is trying to figure out what it is that makes Red Buster freeze up, which is, the chickens. Uh, and in that same episode, the monster turns Cheetah Nick into looking like Red Buster, and so they do this little like play around switcheroo thing with it to cover up the weakness. And I was kind of hoping that this show would incorporate that same episode idea.
Or if they had the Doggy Kruger suit, they could have just painted it something else and have a villain from his planet, his species show up in one of the episodes. Because okay, in the comics, basically, we have had someone from Doggy Kruger's race as a villain in as a as a major threat in in the comics, basically. So that, and he's battling the Mighty Morphin team. The second one, like where with Rocky, Tanya, and Adam.
Ooh,
Rocky, Aisha, and Adam, basically.
right, Aisha.
Rocky, Aisha, and Adam. This guy called Dane. He's from Kruger's species, and he's a really cool villain. So I wish they had done something like that to explore his weakness as a dog. You know, to explore him freezing up, so the other Rangers have to try to defeat him without their Red Ranger. If they had the suit, I mean, or they could have just gotten a dog mask and painted it red. Same difference. But other than that, I wish that would have been done. But other than that, I have not much complaints about that. Yeah, it is a weakness of this show actually. And one thing that I think you will also agree, that this one thing I that really bothers me about Beast Morphers is that they have really cool ideas.
Oh yeah,
They
definitely.
they resolve it in one episode,
Uh,
especially in season one. That thing bothered me so goddamn much.
like the bikes.
The bikes episode, I think the one where Steel goes in, where everybody's memories get altered, and Steel and Devon have to figure it out on their own.
Oh yeah, that was a really good episode.
Yeah, and I wish it was longer because that premise was needed to explore a lot more.
Yeah, yeah, they could have done a lot more multi-episode plot lines.
Yeah, so and that's one thing I feel that it's a weakness of this show. It's also because of the current TV, what do you call it, structure, where multi episodes are kind of not really advised.
It's also difficult to pull off considering the source material.
Yeah, so it is it is there are limitations. Hopefully they overcome that in Dino Fury, but I doubt. Except other than like, but I doubt because the thing is, with how TV works nowadays, where people prefer that there's one standalone episode, so everybody who is tuning in can enjoy, rather than two episodes with a long running plot line. But that way they could have saved some money as well and use that for effects and other things.
So,
That those are my kind of issues with this show.
well,
And Ben and Betty, like they were okay. Here's my problem. In season one, you saw them being competent a lot more.
yes. There were
Season
so many episodes in season two where it was very clear to me that the writer didn't know what to do with them this episode.
Yeah, and I feel that writers need to understand it's okay just have them in the background without doing anything. You can have comedy, and they have shown capabilities of showing comedy with their existing cast. Even Commander Shaw was funny at one point. So having comedy through them would have been a good idea, but they didn't use that. They didn't use them well, especially in season two. In season one, they helped. They were part of the action. They sometimes they actually, you see how somehow they are brilliant. I thought that would go somewhere, like them inventing some technology or them assisting with the models. Like they just needed some direction, or maybe they would be like, we like doing things just because we're bored. That's the kind of thing attitude they gave, but they never told it outright. So that would have been a lot more if they explored a bit more of Ben and Betty with, and how, and use them well in a proper manner, which is connected to the Ranger plot instead of having them separate. In season one, at least they were, because you know some of the entire conflict was sometimes based on Ben and Betty, either being incompetent or their mistakes, or even sometimes their competence as well. So I think season two didn't really handle them well. But props to the actors; they were really likable, even if I didn't like the characters
Oh,
as much in season two.
I'm definitely not gonna forget Ben and Betty. They made a good
Yeah,
impression.
yeah, the actors did a really good job, and no wonder I think the guy who acts as Ben is basically getting cast in other comedic roles.
Good.
Yeah, even the guy who plays Nate basically got cast in some Nickelodeon show.
All right, so let's wrap this up now. Final thoughts on Beast Morphers?
A solid season with inconsistent quality.
Yeah, being the first full season I've watched since RPM, because I only watched a few episodes of Samurai before giving up. I'm impressed, and I'm happy with what I got. Even if it could have been better, like, this was still good.
Yeah, they adapted the source material really well, even if like it's not as good as Go Busters. Uh, like they had potential to be, but like so they because of how TV works nowadays and some of the writing choices they made, kind of hindered that. But otherwise, like overall, it's just really solid season. Like can't say a lot of bad thing. Like there are problems, but there are a lot of good things as well. That's how it is.
Wait,
Mm,
wait, did Saved by the Bell get a remake?
yeah, not
Nate,
really remake, but I think either remake or continuation, one of those things.
Nate's in it.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, so thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back on Tuesday for more Cure Major and Wednesday for more Kamen Rider 01. Uh, and here's hoping that Power Rangers Dino Fury is a good season. Thanks for joining. We'll
yeah.
see you next time.
Bye bye.